Hello class, it's Professor Streeter, and in this video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the weekly tasks and expectations that I have for you in the ethics class. I have a slideshow prepared, and so I'll walk you through that. Let me put myself in the corner and start the slideshow. So this is a philosophy class, and I want to start by thinking about what that means a little bit. The goal, my goal, our goal, is not teaching you or teaching each other what to think or what to do. That's not what the course is about. We will be raising big questions about how you should live and how you should act and how you should make difficult decisions. We'll think about the larger good or the values that we're trying to promote in our lives and why we're doing that. And we'll think about cases where our values come into conflict or our decisions and our interests conflict with each other, and think about ways of resolving those kinds of conflicts. Oftentimes when our interests conflict with each other, we see ourselves as having an incentive to lie to each other or do some harm to each other. So one of our big questions is, why shouldn't we do those kinds of things as a way of resolving our conflicts? So there's a lot of shoulds, but the goal is not telling you or teaching you how to answer those questions, but it's a kind of practice of thinking more critically about how you go about thinking about those things and how you go about making those kinds of decisions in dialogue with other people. So think of philosophy as a practice of thinking about thinking and thinking about how you act and thinking about why you value what you value. Trying to become more reflective and critical about those kinds of questions for yourself in conversation with other people. So in that sense, our goal is learning how to become accountable to yourself, accountable to others. So what does it mean? What does that mean to us? Let me sort of shift here. Right? One way to think about accountability is in terms of things that you can learn how to get better at, right? So we can become more accountable to ourselves and to other people by getting better at making arguments. And so that's something we'll practice in this class, right? How to make an argument, how to explain what you think and the reasons for why you think it, or how to explain what you've done and why you've done it, and give a reason or a line of reasoning that supports your decision. When do we need to make arguments? When we find ourselves in disagreement with others, but also when we find ourselves confused about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So sometimes those arguments are directed at ourselves and trying to be more accountable to ourselves. Sometimes they're directed at others and trying to be more accountable, to hold ourselves accountable to others. So another thing we'll learn how to do in this class is how to think about other people's arguments, not just how to make our own, but how to read what people are saying, what people are writing, and how to respond meaningfully and constructively to other people's arguments when perhaps we disagree with them or they present a point of view that's different from our own. So how to be sensitive to that kind of difference. And then finally, so it's not just about making arguments and reading and responding to others, but part of being accountable is becoming more clear in the way you express yourself, the way you express your ideas, and striving for consistency. Trying not to contradict yourself, trying not to hold two beliefs that can't both be true at the same time, or commit yourself to do two different projects that can't be done at the same time, or trying to uphold two different values that can't be harmonized with each other, right? Striving for some kind of a consistency in our ideas, in our practices. So these are all different ways of thinking about the meaning of accountability. And so we'll learn how to get practice in making arguments, in reading other people's arguments, in expressing ideas clearly, in striving for consistency. These are larger goals of the course. And I'm hoping you see this as a kind of practice for trying to live your life in a way that you can be more accountable to, right? That you can explain yourself better to others and justify the decisions that you are making. So that's one way of thinking about the goal of the course. Okay, so the weekly tasks, shifting here. I've broken it down into 6 parts. So these 2 slides, we'll go through these together. But the first big piece is reading, right? There'll be about 50 pages of reading a week. They're on the calendar on D2L, and in the weekly content module, you can keep track of the assignments, the reading assignment for each week. I encourage you for each reading to look at it twice. On the first read, skim it and just pick up the kind of the main idea in the introduction and in the conclusion, and try to sort of trace the argument that you see paragraph by paragraph. Maybe just like thinking about a sentence in each paragraph that captures the main idea. And then go back and really break down the argument on your second read and try to analyze each paragraph more carefully. I'll talk to you about how to do that, but just that's sort of the goal as a reader, to skim on the first read and become a more active reader on the second time round by taking notes in your notebook, maybe even annotating as you read. Okay, so that's a big part of the class. My expectation is that you will be keeping up with the reading each week. So that means having the books from the very start of the semester. There will be an online discussion component here. So on D2L, that's a big part of the kind of classroom, the virtual classroom here. And for that, my expectation is that you will go into the discussion forum each week more than once. So in the beginning of the week, share your thoughts in response to my prompt. And then by the end of the week, reply to one or more of your classmates. We will be, so that's a big piece of your virtual classroom grade, but that's part of my expectation, is that you'll participate meaningfully in the discussion forum each week. We will be having virtual classes on Google Meet. I'll talk more about that. That will begin in week 2. I will record those meetings, so if you can't attend, my expectation is that you will watch those recordings. We will have assignments within the virtual classes, like shared Google Docs, and you will have access to those documents, and you can share your thoughts in those documents during the live classes. Or if you can't attend the class, you could go into those Google documents over the course of the week and share your thoughts there. So that's part of the virtual classroom grade, and part of that's my expectation, is that you'll participate in the discussion forum and in the shared Google Docs each week. Then another big piece, and this concerns close reading of some of the assignments. There will be homework reflections, not every week, but every other week. Up to around 500 words of writing, reflecting on one of the reading assignments for the week. And I'll give you prompts, and each reading reflection will be different. And those are due on the Sunday in the week in which they're due. So you can submit them as a PDF file or a docx file to the Turnitin folder in the content menu. And I'll explain how to do that. That's that piece. The next big piece is quizzes. So the homework assignments are designed to give you a chance to reflect on and develop your ideas more carefully based on what you're reading and what we're thinking about in class. The quizzes are reading comprehension quizzes, multiple choice, and I'll announce them, and you'll have more than a week to complete them. You can take them twice. They're timed, and they're due the Sunday in the week that they're assigned. But again, you have 2 chances to complete the quizzes. And the goal of the quizzes is to gauge your close reading skills, to see how closely you're reading the texts. So again, just multiple choice questions, 10 of them typically on each quiz, tracking specific moves that the author is making in one of the readings. The homework assignments give you more of a chance to develop your own thoughts, right? And to respond to what you're reading. Whereas the quizzes are really just tracking how much you're comprehending the argument in the essays that you're reading together. Okay, so that's a big chunk. That's about half of your overall grade, is sort of doing the reading each week, participating in the online discussions and the virtual class activities, and the homework assignments every other week. And there will also be a quiz every other week. So like in week 1, there's a quiz, and in week 3, there's a quiz. Right? The first homework assignment will be due week 2 and week 4. So that's sort of how it breaks down. The other half of the grade is determined by the work you do on 2 essays and 2 exams. So those will be spread out over the course of the semester. The the goal in the writing process is that you get better better over time by revising. So what I'm looking for is that you're making progress. And so I'll ask you to submit drafts and sort of scaffold the essay assignment in the first half of the semester, and you'll turn in a final draft around the midterm. And then we'll do that again in the second half of the semester. Okay, but by the end of the term, you'll have plenty of chances to write drafts and revisions of 2 different essays. And your grade for that part of the course will be based on the best version of the drafts that you submit. Okay, but you'll get credit not just for the final product, but for the drafts and revisions that you do over the course of the semester. And then finally, there are 2 exams for this course, right? The quizzes are spread out, every other week. The exams, there's a midterm at the middle of the semester that covers the first part of the semester. And then there's a final exam during final exam period that covers everything in the second half of the semester. I'll talk more about the format of the exams, but those will be done. You'll have plenty of time to complete them and submit them by the due date to the Turn It In folder in the content menu. Okay, so that's the big piece of the course. I just want to talk a little bit about, before I run out of time, some of the tips for success. Again, as a reader, take notes, be an active reader, write down questions that you can share in the virtual class or share in the forum on D2L, the discussion forum. Annotate as much as you can. Keep track of the argument that you see, okay? That will help you with the discussion questions. It will help you with the homework assignments. It will help you track the argument for the quizzes. All of the assignments that I have planned for you depend on doing a good job of close, careful reading. There's the second point is there's a lot of information that I share in the D2L announcements, and I will be sending you regular emails. So if you have a question about what we're doing that week, first check your email, check the announcements. And if you still can't figure it out, then contact me with an email or with a question that you post in the class cafe, or reach out to one of your fellow classmates. On that note, I really encourage you to open up this semester. Like, one way of succeeding is to try to share more of yourself, right? That goes to the point about accountability. Being accountable to yourself and to others means being open and willing to make yourself a little vulnerable. Okay, so share as much as you can, as much as you feel comfortable sharing in the discussion forums, in the virtual classes, if you can attend them, in your writing. Okay, I think you'll get a lot more out of the class that way. And then finally, don't worry about perfection, especially when it comes to essays. Okay, that's one of the big sort of barriers that students have. They worry that their writing isn't good enough, and so they don't turn it in. I want to see that you make progress in your writing. So that means turning in drafts, turning in versions of what you've got, even if it's not perfect, and seeing how you can make it better. Okay. Meet with me during office hours, either on campus or virtually, in the first couple weeks of the semester, but throughout, just so I can get to know you and so we can talk about any issues that you have. And we can talk about anything. And then try as best you can to establish connections with your classmates in the discussion forum, in the virtual classes if you can. You can email them, right? The more you connect with and learn from your classmates, I think the more you'll get from this class. Okay, that's all I have for you in this video. I hope it was useful and interesting, and I look forward to working with you this semester on ethics. Okay, that's all. Bye.